Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and despite the fact that you still can't pre-purchase or order the packs yet, we are one day before the expansion comes out. We're going to look at all the cards from the mean streets of Gadgetzan. Now the only way you can look at them is you have to be in crafting mode, and then if you want to just see Gadgetzan, you click over here and sort to Gadgetzan. And we're going to go through all of this with a new perspective because previously you had, well, you still have, unless they change it, 18 slots to make different decks. Whether that is one set of each playable hero as a standard deck or one set of each playable hero as a wild deck. That's what I was doing before. Or you could have just played 18 mage decks if you just love to play mage or any other decks. However, they've since expanding it and allowing us to have 18 custom deck slots. They've also added a considerable number of weekly quests that ask you to do other things than just win. Before, it was just win 5 games with a mage, win 3 games with a mage or shaman, win 10 games with a mage or shaman. Those were typically something like that, although I may actually be wrong with those numbers. And let's see, win 7 games in any mode was the highest one for 100 gold. I have a list here. But they were tired of doing that, frankly, and so they've added expansions that say play 20 beasts, play 15 demons, play 30 murlocs, play 10 pirates, play 30 battlecry minions, play 20 death rattle minions, play 10 divine shield minions, play 10 enrage, play 20 taunts, play 15 overload, play 10 combos, play 10 secrets, play 10 weapons, play 75 battlecry minions for 100 gold. All those other ones were for 50. Play 75 murlocs for 100 gold. And then there is a whole series of play 30 druid cards, hunter cards, mage cards, paladin cards, priest cards, rogue cards, shaman cards, warlock cards, and warrior cards for 40 gold. And 40 gold is the least amount you could earn per quest. So, in all of these new quests and logics of this, that means if you're trying to play strategically and get the most amount of gold so that you have the 7,000 gold that I have right now, and I will spend 5,000 of which tomorrow to buy 50 cards for the new expansion, this means you can't just make a deck based on the cards themselves. You're going to have to at least use 9 of those slots to make custom decks to get those quests done. And that totally changes your strategy, because now I'm no longer thinking what is the best deck, in my opinion, in my limited knowledge of Hearthstone. I'm thinking now, what is the best deck that also has battle cries and divine shields? But that's the perspective we're going to start with. But first we need to look at the cards, so sorry if that took too long. Let's begin. The first card for Druid is the 1 mana Jade Isle. I choose one, shuffle a Jade Golem, summon a Jade Golem, or shuffle 3 copies of this card into your deck. Well, I don't know what a Jade Golem is, so until I see that, I don't know if this is a good card or not. But let's say that a Jade Golem is a 1/1 character. That seems probably likely. The fact that you could potentially shuffle 3 more of these in your deck is probably a great card. There is also a legendary Druid card that does both choose one options. So then it would summon a Jade Golem and give you 3 copies of this, giving you almost an infinite number of these cards. Notice it says coming soon, you can't craft it or anything. And here's over here the rarity, and over here are some flavor text that don't really matter in the artist credits, which for the regular player doesn't matter, but of course matters to the person that created it. Some of these are in blue because I have 325 dust. That tells me that these cards, I could craft them. These that aren't in blue tell me that they are epic or higher, and that's why I can't afford to craft them. Next one we have is a 1 mana Mark of the Lotus. Give your minion +1/+1. Almost certainly we've seen similar cards in, if not in the Druid deck, and some of the other characters' decks. So that's a average card for sure. Maybe you'll play it. Maybe you could do a little bit better for 1 mana. Next one we have is a 3 mana, 3 attack, 3 health creature, the Celestial Dreamer. Battle cry: if a friendly minion has 5 or more attack, gain +2/+2. And see, that's what I was talking about now. Because this is a battle cry character, he has more value to me than he probably should. Just because I now want to potentially make a druid deck with battle cries, if that's how that's going to work. I may end up making a warlock deck with battle cries, or a mage deck with battle cries, but I need to make at least one deck with battle cry characters, almost completely battle cry characters. Next one is a 3 mana spell, Jade Blossom. Summon a Jade Golem, get an empty mana crystal. Well, they're going hard on these Jade Golems, but I don't, until I see what a Jade Golem is, you can't really know whether these cards are good or not. Next one is a 3 mana spell, Pilfered Power. Gain an empty mana crystal for each friendly minion. Ooh. This seems really overpowered, because here's what I'm thinking. You play a bunch of 0 mana minions on the first turn, or the second turn, and by the third turn you could potentially add 7 mana crystals to you and be at 10 mana crystals for the rest of the game for very little loss. There are some other cards that are like, there's one where you discard your entire hand and kill all your minions, and you get 10 mana crystals, so you just start off at 10, but then you have to wait a turn before you could even play anything. That seemed a lot more balanced. This seems like, in the right hands, even in average players' hands, this is going to be super overpowered. Looking at cards that will potentially get changed or banned, all of these cards of course will be banned in a couple of years. They're not even out yet, but the rolling ban is assumed, because that's what they're doing, and so they will go to wild, like Goblins vs. Gnomes and Nexramus have gone to wild, and the next one to go to wild will be Blackrock Mountain, I think, at least, and that seems way too powerful. Next one we have is a 5 mana spell, Lunar Vision. Draw 2 cards, minions drawn cost 2 less. For 5 mana, that's probably a fine card. It seems pretty balanced. Next one we have is a 5 mana creature for 4 attack, 5 health, the Vermin Sensei. Battle cry: give a friendly beast +2/+2. Druid has some beast cards, but it's nowhere as good as the Hunter. Next one we have is a 6 mana creature for 3 attack, 6 health, the Jade Behemoth. Taunt: summon a Jade Golem. I have to assume that the Jade Golem has taunt, because it seems like there's too many cards that seem like that's something valuable, unless this card in turn says destroy all Jade Golems and gain a lot of attacker and health. This is the 10 mana legendary card. That's what the dragon frame here means. For 7 attack and 7 health. Kun the Forgotten King. Choose one, gain 10 armor, or refresh your mana crystals. Interesting, because this is a new ability we haven't seen any other card do, refreshing mana crystals, refilling them. So you play this on your 10th turn, you refresh your mana crystals, then you have 10 other mana that you could play. That's hugely beneficial. It really is. And the way Mean Streets of Gadgetzan is implied as far as the backstory is there's 3 syndicates, and different ones are going to be different syndicates. So the fact that this is Jade, and this is Mark of the Lotus, and this is Vermin Sensei, you can pretty much tell that this is a Chinese or Japanese or syndicate, although they seem to kind of be going back and forth. I would say Kun the Forgotten King tells me that it is a Chinese syndicate, but then Vermin Sensei tells me that it's a Japanese syndicate, so they may have their wires crossed a little bit that way. Moving on to the Hunter, we have a 1 mana, 1 health, 1 attack alley cat creature. Battlecry, summon a 1/1 cat. He's a beast. So now, in making a beast deck, you're almost certainly going to make a hunter deck, because the hunter works with the beast more than anything else. And this looks like a really good card, actually. You're better off, in my opinion, to have a 2 1 attack 1 health creatures than 1 2 attack 2 health creatures. But it's kind of very, very close, because having only 1 health, there's so many cards out there that will do 1 damage to all enemy minions cheaply. Next one we have is a 1 mana spell called Smuggler's Crate. Give a random beast in your hand +2/+2. It's a little different because it gives it to the creature in your hand, so you're playing a card now for a card you probably will play in your next turn. But that's not a terrible idea also, because there are many occasions when I'm playing Hearthstone where there's 1 mana extra that if I could just hold on to a card and say, well, since I've got some extra energy this turn, I'll play it. Next one we have is a 2 mana spell called Hidden Cache. It's a secret spell. After your opponent plays a minion, give a random minion in your hand +2/+2. I think this is going to be thematically the way the hunter works, is playing some secrets that increase beasts in your hand. So it's more smuggling, the idea of smuggling and improving things in your hand, which Hunter hasn't really done a ton of things to its own hand. It's up to this point played cards that only increase the attack of the creatures on your field, which happens more commonly in all the decks. But this is interesting, the way they're going with it. Next one we have is a 2 mana, 3 attack, 2 health character called the Trog Beast Stragger? Beast Rager? Yeah, Beast Rager. Battlecry, give a random beast in your hand +1/+1. So, what I'm seeing here as a strategy that's becoming pretty apparent is throughout the game you would play this over and over again, and then you would have some card that was just really, really powerful, kind of like Cthulhu, except for without the ability like Cthulhu that does damage when it's summoned. And then you would play this really powerful beast and hopefully win near the end of the game. Next one we have is a 3 mana, 2 attack, 2 health beast called the Rat Pack. Death Rattle, summon a number of 1/1 rats equal to this minion's attack. So if you got this up to 7 attacks somehow, and it dies, then you're gonna have 7 1/1 rats summoned, assuming there's nobody else on the field. Is that really that helpful? Not particularly, but it is a pretty nasty death rattle. It does do something that at least helps keep something on the field. Next one we have is a 3 mana, 3 attack, 3 health creature called Shaky Zip Gunner. Death rattle, give a random minion in your hand +2/+2. Now some of these have been give a beast in your hand +2/+2. And this one is minion in your hand. So in consideration, if you're trying to pick from this one or this one, while this one costs 1 more mana to play, it has 1 more health and it affects any beast in your hand versus well, any card in your hand versus a beast over here. Next one we have is a 4 mana, 2 attack, 4 health beast called Dispatch Kodo. Battlecry, deal damage equal to this minion's attack. So now this card in particular is just Cthulhu. It's a weaker version of Cthulhu. If you had this one card in here and it starts at 2, and you do this, that gets it to 3, and you do this, that gets it to 5, and if you do this one a second time, it gets it to 7, and if you do this one a second time, it gets it to 8. If you do this 2 times, you've got it to 12. So just the cards I'm saying here, you could have a 4 mana creature that was doing 12 damage as soon as it's summoned. So I guess I would highly recommend using this card if you're going to use any cards like these that increase things in your hand. Maybe there's not really enough here for this to work, because you have to be pretty lucky to have one of possibly 2 of these cards in your hand at the beginning of the game before you start playing any of these others. But it's a smaller version of Cthulhu. Now, I guess the question then becomes, do you want to play this, or do you want to just play Cthulhu? And you probably are better off just playing Cthulhu, because if you're going to play a Cthulhu deck, there's way more cards that would work that way. Cthulhu, of course, is a 9 or 10 mana creature. I don't remember which, maybe 10. So you would get that effect earlier, but that doesn't really work with the strategy anyways. Next one we have is a 5 mana, 3 attack, 7 health beast called Knuckles. He's a legendary. After this attacks a minion, it also hits the enemy hero. So what's interesting in my mind about this card, he doesn't do a ton of damage right now, so you'd want to get him powered up, and that's not something you particularly do a lot of in Hunter, or you haven't done a lot of it in the past, is powering up your beasts. Beasts are more about you summon the creatures, they have charge, they attack, they continue, then you summon another beast. You use them as cannon fodder. These cards are not feeling like they are cannon fodder, they are feeling more like they're heroes. But this card in particular might be able to circumnavigate taunt, because if you had 2 creatures that had taunts, let's say one is a 7/7 with taunt and one of them is a 0/1 with taunt, just for an example. If this guy attacks the 0/1 with taunt, according to his instructions here, he should just attack the enemy hero. So by default, kill the guy with taunt and then attack the hero for 3 and ignore the other 7/7 with taunt. Well, I'll have to see how that actually plays. If that's the way it works, that would be interesting. Give it a little bit more of a ability. Next thing we have is our first weapon, a 5 mana, 2 attack, 4 durability, or duration, might as well be duration, it's 4 attacks, weapon called the Piranha Launcher. After your hero attacks, summon a 1/1 Piranha. This is an interesting idea, but it's very expensive. Like, On your 5th turn, you're going to attack and get a 1/1 piranha. It's a mid-game card, and my mid-game strategy in particular has never been existent. So I typically want to play early game, and I understand the concept of late games. Something like Cthulhu is a late game concept, but to be right on your 5th turn and summon this because you know you're going to need one more character on your 5th turn, probably the case in the mid game that I would need more characters because I usually do run out pretty fast. I play poorly most of the time. So I don't know if I'd use this, so particularly since there's nothing here that synergizes really well. Like, I don't think there are many hunter cards that would synergize or work with that, right? And do anything to it, give it more durability, give it more attack, or in any other way give the 1/1 characters attack or something. Moving forward to the mage, we have a 0 mana spell, Freezing Potion, freeze an enemy. Absolutely you would want to play that in the freeze deck. Next one we have is a 1 mana 2 attack 1 health creature called the Cabal Lackey. Battle cry, the next secret you play costs 0. I could see if you were playing a secrets deck to have this creature, and then it on the first turn you could play this and a secret, and you could play something like duplicate and then get more of these and then play these to play other secrets. Also, it's not a bad card in itself, a 2 attack for 1 health, even if you weren't playing a secrets deck. Next one we have is a 3 mana 3 attack 4 health creature called Manic Soulcaster. Battlecry, choose a friendly minion, shuffle a copy into your deck. It's a fine card. I don't really follow the logic though of shuffling a friendly copy into your deck, just giving yourself more of the same card, unless you could play a legendary card or something very valuable. This card works with other strategies that have yet to been created in my mind, really. If there was one card in your mage deck that was very powerful and just the central keystone to your strategy, and you needed more of those, play this card. Otherwise, I think you probably wouldn't play this card in favor of something else, even though it is a pretty decent character in itself. Next one I have is a 3 mana spell called Potion of Polymer. It's a secret. After your opponent plays a minion, transform it into a 1/1 sheep. It's just another secret, I guess, for the secret mage deck, which I think, yeah, we're gonna have to get more secrets in all of the characters if secrets are gonna be a bigger thing. There's definitely a lack of secrets and a lack of weapons in all of the characters, and so it's a good idea for them in the expansions to add more. Plus it also adds some variety to the secrets, because right now if somebody's playing a secret on mage, I could probably guess what it's going to be. It's going to be like ice block, or the one that gives them immunity when they're about to die, or it's going to be the one that does damage, fire blast when you attack the hero, or the one that duplicates when the minion dies. There's about 6 of them. Next one we have is a 3 mana spell called Volcanic Potion. Deal 2 damage to all minions. I guess Mage didn't have a card like this before, and it seems slightly expensive at 3 mana, but probably for Mage that's fine. I could see playing this, definitely. Next one we have is a 5 mana, 5 attack, 5 health creature called the Cryomancer. Battlecry, give +2/+2 if an enemy is frozen. gain +2/+2 if an enemy is frozen. I think you would definitely want this card if you're going to use a freeze mage deck. I think that's what they're doing here, is they're giving you the cards that would work well with a secret mage and cards that would work with freeze mage. Is this possibly going to make the mage a viable character to play? Because mage has always been very, very simplistic and easy for like new players. If I'm recalling correctly, when you first start playing Hearthstone, they have you play as mage and nothing else. So getting players now who have potentially played for a year, 2, even 3 years, I don't know how long Hearthstone's been out, to get back to mage would be nice if there was more high level play on that. Of course, once the professionals know what the top meta decks are, they'll play just those and nothing else. Next card we have is a 6 mana, 5 attack, 5 health creature called the Cabal Crystal Runner. Costs 2 less for each secret you've played this game. So play 3 secrets, this thing is free. Well, if you're playing a secret mage, you would definitely want that card in your deck. Next one we have is a 7 mana spell called the Greater Arcane Missiles. Shoot 3 missiles at random enemies that deal 3 damage each. And I assume... So here's the thing about arcane missiles, is when you get spell damage +1, which is usually what you try to do on your characters in a mage deck, at least early on, you would get more missiles. But I have a feeling now that this card would actually translate it differently. So if they got spell damage +1, I would bet it still shoots 3 missiles, and they do 4 damage each for spell damage +1. Or if you had spell damage +2, it'd be 5 damage each, which kind of makes it less useful by a little bit. And the fact that it's 7 mana to do 9 damage randomly, it's kind of expensive, but I wouldn't be surprised if a few people play it. And then finally we have a 7 mana, 5 attack, 5 health creature called Incubator Solaya. Battlecry: if your deck has no duplicates, the next spell you cast this turn costs 0. So the concept of your deck not having duplicates has a reason for other cards. There is a card that if you have no duplicates will refill your health all the way back to 30, and there's the golden monkey, if you could ever summon it, actually replaces your entire deck with legendary cards, which means therefore that you can't have duplicates because you can only have 1 legendary card. I think we would need to see a few more cards that work that way if that was the only reason why you were trying to have no duplicates, but this helps a little bit. That being said, I'm not sure if you're really gonna use this too much, because this is kind of a late game card at 7 mana in the first place, and it's only a 5 attack and 5 health, which is pretty low, and there aren't that many spells that are that powerful. Even a 10 mana spell, if you were holding on to one, it being free would be very nice, but it's not going to do more than 10 damage. Let's move on. So we have Paladin cards now. We have a 1 mana spell called the Getaway Kodo. Secret: when a friendly minion dies, return it to your hand. I don't know if that's really worth it. This is another one of those cards that only works once you have some other keystone card that you want to keep alive and on the field. We have a 1 mana, 2 attack, 1 health Murloc creature called the Grimscale Chum. Battlecry, give a random Murloc in your hand +1/+1. That's interesting that it's a Murloc in your hand. Now, they've banned a few cards from standard play that were Murlocs, which made it unfriendly to actually play a Murloc deck in standard play. If they add back now several more Murlocs to the game, it might be possible to play a standard Murloc deck and it work. But probably not, because the one card that got banned was your game finisher card, which was the Murloc King that gained 1 attack for every other Murloc on the field. And so you're going to have a very drastically different experience whether you're playing a wild or standard play with Murlocs. And I'm glad they're trying to fix it, but they're going to have to give me a little bit more before I'm happy with the situation. Next one we have is a 1 mana, 1 attack, 2 health creature called the Mean Street Marshal. Death Rattle, if this minion has 2 or more attack, draw a card. This seems kind of like a pointless card, really. It seems if you put this through logic, you're going to have to spend a card to give this more attack, almost certainly. And by spending that card, you just draw a new card. And drawing a new card in Hearthstone is not as useful as it is in other games, in other collectible card games. So I just don't think this is worth it. Unless you could find something in the Paladin deck that would increase the attack of all the characters on your side and play that consistently on the first turn next to this guy. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, maybe in combination of something like Smuggler's Run here, which is a 1 mana spell, give all your minions in your hand +1/+1, and then it kind of makes sense, but it's still is probably not your best choice, depending on how many cards you have. Next one I have is a 2 mana, 1 attack, 1 health creature called the Grim Street Outfitter. Battlecry, give all the minions in your hand +1/+1. They are very much playing on the same theme, which is fine, because we've been lacking a lot of cards that did that. The ability to increase the attack and health of your minions in your hand before was a very unique card ability that only happened on maybe 3 or 4 cards that I've seen. Now with this expansion, it's going up to probably 20 cards that do that. So this changes the game a little bit and allows potentially for maybe more strategy play than we've seen before. Particularly for me when I play Hearthstone, when I don't play it very well, it's all about just getting a creature on the field and then trying to pump them up after the fact, after they've probably attacked the at least once. So the idea of now holding a card back and getting it pumped up and feeling rewards and feeling like you're doing the right thing by holding a card back and waiting for it to charge up is an interesting idea. I kind of wish there was a card that would just increase its attack by +1/+1 just for being in your hand, and you didn't have to play other cards on there, but that would have to be like some kind of 10 mana legendary card. Next one we have is a 3 mana spell called the Small Time Recruits. Draw 3 1-cost minions from your deck. So for the third turn you do this, and then you could get 3 1-cost minions, which would be like either this or this of this category, and that's the only 2 1-cost minions for Gadgetzan. But if you were doing the Murloc deck and you had played a bunch of Murlocs and you were out on your third turn, which is possible that you could have done, drawing 3 more 1-cost Murlocs for your would be right in line. So that might work very well for a Murloc deck, or just a small character deck. On the quests, I don't believe there's a reason to... Yeah, I'm looking here at the list of quests and how much you win in gold. So there's not really a reason to build decks that have things that cost 2 or less, minions that cost 2 or less, or minions that cost 5 or more. There is a quest that gives you 40 gold if you play 30 minions that cost 2 or less. There is a quest that gives you 40 gold if you play 20 minions that cost 5 or more. But there's no reason to actually keep those quests because you can trade them out, and they only give you 40 gold. And anything that gives you 40 gold is not in line with the 50 gold quests or higher that you can get. Play 75 Murlocs is much better for 100 gold than play 30 minions that cost 2 or less. The whole quest system in itself is a nightmare. I wish they would allow you to collect maybe 5 quests in a row before it stops giving you a new quest, but because being able to only collect 3 has me playing Hearthstone every 3 days, which is way too often in my opinion to play Hearthstone. So next card we have is a 3 mana 2 attack 2 health creature, legendary, called the, what is this, Wicker Flame Burn Bristle. Divine Shield and Taunt. Damage dealt by this minion also heals your hero. For a Paladin, that's probably a great card, particularly since you might be able to power it up some more and give it more health. This would be the keystone card if you were going to play something like this, because you would want it to be a 4 or 5 attack, healing your hero. Although there is some lack of logic here if you play this on the 3rd turn, because you're almost certainly not going to have that much damage to your hero on the 3rd turn anyways. So even though this is a 3 mana card, you still probably would end up playing it on the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th turn or later, just so you can effectively use its abilities. Next one we have is a 5 mana 4 attack 4 health creature called the Grime Street Enforcer. At the end of your turn, give all your minions in your hand +1/+1. Of all the cards that have that ability, this is the best so far because it's every single turn it gives an increase. And then next one we have is the 7 mana 6 attack 6 health creature called the Grime Street Protector. It's Taunt, Battle Cry, give adjacent minions divine shields. So this isn't a legendary, which is kind of interesting, and it actually has some value in some different ways. Not only does it have taunt, which is good, it makes up for it only being a 6/6 when it should probably be a 7/7. It gives the adjacent 2 minions divine shield, and there is a card in the common cards, I believe, that will take all divine shields away from all the other characters and increase its own health, I think by 2. So it's a +2 attack, +2 health for every divine shield it takes away. So those 2 cards would probably synergize very well. Moving on to the Priest, we have a 1 mana spell called the Pint-Sized Potion. Give all enemy minions -3 attack this turn only. This is an interesting new concept. -3 attack tells me it could be introduced or explained in 2 different ways. It could mean that all the characters have actually -3 attack, so they'd heal you for 3 every time they attack you. Or it could mean they just are subtracting 3 attack. So then they would go down to 0, and then they wouldn't have any more attacks. It will be... I have to see this played on something with a 1 or 2 attack and see if it stops at 0 or if it actually goes into the negatives. Because that's just going to be a part of the Hearthstone game itself, the program itself, whether on how it treats and calculates those cards. It could do a couple different things. If it potentially heals you, this is an awesome card. If it just reduces the attack of all your enemies, then that doesn't mean anything. But there's also a factor that needs to be considered here. You can only play this on your turn, so it's going to give them -3 attack while you're playing. So that means they would never hit your face and heal it, but they might have -3 attacks, and then your enemies might attack them and get healed by them, which is even crazier. You could have a whole line of characters with some damage on them, play this, and then attack really strong characters and then heal them while also killing your opponents. So I need to see that in play for sure. Next one we have is the 1 mana spell, Potion of Madness. Gain control of an enemy minion with 2 or less attack until the end of the turn. The thing about Hearthstone and cards like this is they just make me think about the way you could use Yu-Gi-Oh cards and like this. And in Yu-Gi-Oh you sacrifice cards to summon bigger cards. So it was very advantageous to take control of a card for 1 turn and then attack with your enemy's card, then sacrifice your enemy's card to summon your own stronger card. Now in Hearthstone, that's not the case. You don't ever have to sacrifice a card to summon anything new, except for in a few rare examples where the cards actually do get sacrificed, but those are very, very rare examples and wouldn't apply to something like this. So I don't really like the concept of the way it's implemented here, because for 1 mana you get control of something, and what you then would have to play a second card to destroy it, and almost every card you can get in this game that could destroy your own creature can also destroy an opponent's creature. So maybe you got control of a death rattle creature that summons something else, and you could play a second card on top of this one to destroy it, and then maybe the death rattle would give you a new card that was summoned in exchange. But that's really a unique scenario that's probably not worth having this card in your deck. Next card we have is a 2 mana, 2 attack, 3 health creature called the Mana Geode. Whenever this minion is healed, summon a 2/2 crystal. Well, this is a priest deck, so healing creatures is not unlikely, but I bet you could do better than this card. The problem with the priest deck in particular is there's some really good cards in it already, and so I'm not sure these cards are gonna change the calculation there. Next one we have is a 3 mana, 3 attack, 4 health creature called the Cabal Talon Priest. I'm trying to look at this picture and see. I thought his face was over here, but no, his beaked face is over here, and this is his hands. Battle cry, give a friendly minion +3 health. I would certainly play this card because there's a specific card in Priest that his health is always equal to his attack, or vice versa. Actually, his attack is always equal to his health. So if you play that other card and give it +3 health, you've then also increased its attack by 3, and that's a very valuable exchange for 3 mana to have a 3/4 creature and increase somebody's attack by 3. Next card we have is a 4 mana spell called the Greater Healing Potion. Restore 12 health to a friendly character. I don't think this one's actually very useful. Because if you're down 12 health on any creature and any minion and it hasn't died, that's never going to happen. You're never going to have a creature that has 12 health damage and is still not dead. And if you're down 12 health on a priest, and you've probably already lost the game. So being 4 mana is cheap, but I just don't think you would ever be in a good position to play this. And it's a card in case you're losing, and you shouldn't make your decks with cards designed in case you're losing. You should go in there optimistically and have cards to make you win. Next one we have is a 5 mana, 5 attack, 6 health dragon. Now, I have consistently, with every expansion, felt that there aren't enough dragons to yet build a dragon deck. So if we start seeing a lot of dragons in the common cards, the neutral cards that everybody can use, and throughout the remaining characters cards, then maybe we could finally make a dragon deck that makes some sense. But right now I don't see that. So 5 mana, 5 attack, 6 health, Draconoid Operative. Battlecry: if you're holding a dragon, discover a card in your opponent's deck. So almost all the dragon cards start with the phrase "if you're holding a dragon" as their battle cry. And that seems really ridiculous because there just aren't enough dragons. So you wouldn't be holding a dragon. And then they never really do anything that's that powerful because you're holding a dragon. It seems more fair. If I was making a series of characters that were dragons, I would say, if you're holding a dragon, destroy 1 enemy on all of them. And just constantly do that. Because in my mind, I could see, oh, you summon a dragon, there's another dragon behind him that shoots a fireball at the enemy's minion. Or does at least some damage to a minion. Maybe not destroy it by default. But no, it's always just discover something or do something else. Next card we have is a 5 mana, 5 attack, 5 health creature called the Cabal Song Stealer. Battlecry: silence a minion. I guess, particularly if you're trying to play priest cards, which it makes a little bit of sense, there you might want to play this card and have silence over playing some other cards that have silence. Silence isn't used too often, but if it's held on to and used in the right places, it can often be very helpful. Next one I have is a 5 mana, 5 attack, 5 health creature. It seems like that's all we've seen for the past 3 cards are 5 attacks. Creature called Raza the Chained. Battlecry: if your deck has no duplicates, your hero power costs 0 this game. So, Now, I'm not sure if you can play this card, but I know there's a card that lets you use your hero power multiple times. And for the priest ability, it's just to heal 2 health. But if you have the Arachnite Soul Priest, all your heal damage becomes actual damage. So then instead of healing 2, you would take away 2. So if you played this card, and the Arachnite Soul Priest, and the card that lets you use use your hero ability as many times as you want, which I don't think is a priest card, then that 3-card combination would guarantee you a win. If you can do that. Now, I'm not sure you can do that, but it should guarantee you a win, because then you would, in the one turn you had those 3 cards on the field, you would just do -2, do it again, -2 to the face of the enemy, -2, -2, -2, -2, constantly doing it. The power costs 0, so that is that, and you would win instantly. And it's even easier than that now that I look at the instructions again. It says your power costs 0 in this game for the rest of the game. It's even if this guy gets killed, it doesn't undo it. So you just have to summon him. This is an amazing combination right there. We haven't seen any combinations, or I haven't figured out any combinations up to that point. Next one we have is a 6-mana spell called Dragonfire Potion. Deal 5 damage to all minions except for dragons. If you're going to make a dragon deck, I guess you would play that, just on the fact that there's so few dragon cards to play. Moving on to the rogue, we have a 0-mana spell called the Counterfeit Coin. Gain 1 mana this turn only. So it's exactly like the coin, except for it's counterfeit. I think you probably would have this in your deck. It's kind of very useful, particularly if you're trying to build up to something mid-game or late-game early on. Next one we have is a 2-mana, 2-attack, 3-health creature called the Gadgetzan Ferryman. Combo, return a friendly minion to your hand. Combo cards are one of the quests I will want to do, and you're almost certainly going to make a combo deck with the rogue. Next one we have is a 2-mana spell card called the Jade Shuriken. Deal 2 damage, combo, summon a Jade Golem. Again, don't know what a Jade Golem is, and until we do, we're just kind of left questioning whether that's useful or not. But it is a combo card, so I'd still probably throw it in my combo deck. Next one we have is a 2-mana, 1-attack, 1-health, Jade Swarmer, Stealth, Death Rattle, summon a Jade Golem. So, oddly, there is no quest to play stealth creatures, and I think that's probably because there just aren't enough stealth creatures, and playing stealth creatures in general is slowing the game down. So I don't have to worry about the fact that it has stealth, and stealth is kind of useless here because he's a 1/1. So either I'm going to summon him and attack the next turn, or I'm going to leave him in stealth forever and just fill up my board for no reason. Next card I have is a 3-mana, 5-attack, 1-health creature called the Shadow Rager with stealth. Again, you might as well just attack as early on as possible. You're not going to get 30 damage on the field with stealth creatures and then in one final blow attack the enemy and win. So you either, as soon as you can attack, you attack, or you lose the character because the opponent figures out a way to do 1 damage to all enemies and thus get around the stealth. The stealth in itself is not super useful unless they have an ability that does something like summon or add the spell damage +1 that's useful, or do some other ability while they're hidden on the field. Next one we have is a 3-mana, 2-attack, 3-health creature called the Shaku the Collector. Stealth, whenever this attacks, add a random card to your hand from your opponent's deck. Now there's a lot of stealing cards like this that steal cards from your opponent's deck, and some of these phrases are going to have to get shorter and shorter as Hearthstone continues to grow. Whenever this one attacks, add a random card from your hand, from your opponent's deck, from your opponent's class, actually. And see, so that phrase needs to probably get rendered down and boiled down to just being steal a random card from your opponent. So get rid of the S in class, steal a random card from your opponent. And that still is a little wordy, so they need to think of some more. Maybe just call it steal one card in general. I guess that would be about as small as you can get it. So, moving forward, had to take a break to drink. It's been a while, and lots of cards to go through. I don't think stealing cards is a very good strategy, honestly, because it's just so random. You don't know what cards are going to end up in your hand, and thus you can't make a strategy to play against it. Next one we have is a 4 mana, 4 attack, 4 health creature called the Shadow Sensei. Battlecry, give a stealth minion +2/+2. This is a fine card, I suppose, if you don't have anything better, but I don't really see the logic of giving a stealth minion plus attacks. Even this 5/1, he still would only be a 3 health, and he'd still probably get killed after the first attack. Next one we have is a 5 mana, 5 attack, 5 health creature called the Lotus Assassin. Stealth, whenever this attacks and kills a minion, gains stealth. I probably would play this because you could probably kill 1 or 2 minions and get stealth back and hit the face once. So I'm seeing potentially 15 damage that you would average with this card because of its stealth ability. And even if it didn't have its special ability, 5 attack for 5 health is pretty good. Moving on, we have a 6 mana, 5 attack, 5 health pirate called the Luckido Buccaneer. Luckido Buccaneer, I don't know how you pronounce that, really. Battlecry, if your weapon has at least 3 attack, gain +4/+4. Now, there is a pirate deck, and I believe there's still a pirate quest. Yes, play 10 pirates. So, in my pirate deck, I would probably play this just because. And it is a pretty good card on itself. You have a decent chance on a rogue to have an attack of 3, particularly if you're playing pirates, because there's a pirate that increases the attack by default, and there's a poison you can put on your weapon to increase the attack. And then you would have a 9/9 for 6 mana. So the weird thing is, almost certainly in the new builds, you're going to make 2 rogue decks. You're going to make a combo deck, and you're going to probably make a pirate deck, which implies that one of these classes you're not going to have a deck at all. So how does that work? I don't know. You're going to have to make that decision, or at least I am, where I'm going to have to knock out one class, probably the Warlock if I was to guess, and say I'm just not going to play with that class in Wild, and then I'll probably make a standard Warlock deck that just tries to win. Moving forward, to the Shaman, yeah, no W, Shaman. First one we have is a 1 mana spell called Finder's Keeper. Discover a card with Overload, Overload 1. Infinity Loop is the name because it overloads when you play it, and you get an overload card. There is a character that increases its attack when you overload, so I could see that being in an overload deck. Now there's actually, I don't think, a quest to play overload cards. Yes, there is. Play 15 overload cards for 50. So the only deck that overloads are Shaman cards. So you have to make at least an overload deck here. Next one we have is a 2 mana spell called Devolve. Transfer all enemy minions into random ones that cost 1 less. There's an evolve card, so this is just the opposite of that. And it does it to your enemies, where the evolve increases it to you. So you could do some really crazy thing where if you play the evolve on your own characters and then devolve on the opponent, you could really have a drastic difference there in quality of cards. So if you're going to play evolve, I would say play devolve. Next one we have is a 2 mana, 2 attack, 2 durability weapon, the second weapon of the expansion. We still don't have enough weapons, but they honestly just haven't been able to think of interesting things to do with the weapons, and I can't really blame them because I can't even think of very many interesting things to do with the weapons too. Battlecry, summon a Jade Golem. Again, we have to see a Jade Golem before we know if that's useful. Overload 1. Being an overload card might be helpful, maybe not. Next one we have is a 4 mana spell called Call in the Finisher. Summon 4 1/1 Murlocs. If you're playing a Murloc deck, you would absolutely want this card. So then it becomes, do I want to make a Paladin Murloc deck, or do I want to make a Shaman Murloc deck? There's some special cards that help Murlocs in both of those. Next one we have is a 4 mana spell called Jade Lightning. Deal 4 damage, summon a Jade Golem. See, I'm having trouble figuring out which of the 3 groups in the mean street of Gadgetzan each of these cards are supposed to be. It seems like there's a Jade, which I would assume is a Chinese kind of mafia, and then there is a Smuggler, which and then maybe there's a Japanese. Maybe that's it. Maybe there is a distinction there. There's a Japanese group, a Chinese group, and then a Smuggler that's more kind of, I don't know, mobsterish, Irish. I don't know what stereotype they're even playing to there. It's supposed to be like Prohibition era mobsters, I think. Next one we have is a 4 mana, 3 attack, 6 health creature called Jinyu Water Speaker. Battlecry, replace, restore 6 health, overload 1. This is interesting because there aren't a lot of restore health cards in Shaman. So that probably would want to get played just for some variety there. Next one we have is a 4 mana, 3 attack, 5 health creature called the Lotus Illusionist. After this minion attacks a hero, transform it into a random 6 cost minion. I think this is probably very useful, actually. As long as you can get this guy to attack, and with 5 health you can almost certainly get this guy to attack. Play this on the 4th turn. On the 5th turn, attack the enemy and he'll transform into a 6 cost minion for the 6th turn. That's pretty good trade off there. Next one we have is a 5 mana, 5 attack, 5 health legendary card called White Eyes. Taunt, Death Rattle, shuffle the Storm Guardian into your deck. I don't know what the Storm Guardian is, so this is a card you would definitely want to play to at least know what the Storm Guardian is, but he's also a legendary card, so I probably won't even get him when I open the 50 card packs tomorrow, if you're watching this as the day it comes out. Next card is a 7 mana, 5 attack, 5 health creature called the Jade Chieftain. Battlecry, summon a Jade Golem, give it taunt. So now we know something about Jade Golems. They aren't taunt creatures, and that's something I was thinking that they might have taunt by default, but now they're saying they don't. So are Jade Golems just like 1/1 creatures, or are they 5/5 creatures, or are they 10/10 creatures? Do they have some special ability where they can't attack the hero, or they can't attack when there's other non-golem creatures on the field? any of those are a possibility, and until we see what a Jade Golem is, we still don't know. So again, I don't know if this card's any good or not. Moving on to the Warlock, we have a 3 mana spell, Blood Fury Potion. Give a minion +3 attacks. If it's a demon, also give it +3 health. That would probably be good. The problem with the Warlock deck in particular is that I've yet to be able to build one that feels very good to me and feels like a successful combination. So maybe we'll get some new cards here that will help with that. Next card I have is a 3 mana, 5 attack, 5 health demon, unlicensed apothecary. Whenever you summon a minion, deal 5 damage to your hero. No. Even though this guy is really strong, I do not believe I would ever recommend playing this card. That is way too expensive of damage to yourself for what you get. Next card we have is a 4 mana spell called Blast Crystal Potion. Destroy a minion in one of your mana crystals. For 4 mana, that's not worth it. Playing this on the 4th turn and then having only 4 mana crystals on your 5th turn just to destroy minions, not worth it. Next card we have is a 4 mana, 5 attack, 4 health creature called the Crystal Weaver. Battlecry, give your demons +1/+1. The problem here is, does that mean give your demons all throughout your deck +1/+1, or does it mean give your demons on your side of the field +1/+1, or the demons in your hand +1/+1? If it's all throughout your deck, this is totally a card you'd want to play. But if it's just what's on the field at the time, it's probably not as useful as I'd like it to be. It's still probably a decent card though. Next one we have is a 4 mana, 4 attack, 2 health Murloc called the Sea Devil Stinger. Battlecry, the next Murloc you play this turn costs health instead of mana. Let's see. Is there a Murloc you would want to play that this made sense? Not really. Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, most Murlocs are extremely cheap. 1 mana, 2 mana, 3 mana. I believe even the Murloc King is only 4 mana. So you play this guy and you would take 4 damage to play 4 mana creature. It's not a terrible idea. It just doesn't seem like anything you need to do. So I don't know why you'd particularly make a Murloc deck for the Warlock character anyways, but it's there. It's almost like this is a card that's not going to be used by anybody. Next card we have is a 6 mana spell called the Fellfire Potion. Deal 5 damage to all characters. Maybe. For the Warlock, that's very possibly the best you're gonna get. So 6 mana to do 5 damage to the enemy, and do 5 damage to yourself, and kill all of the enemy's minions probably, and kill all of your minions probably. It's probably the best you're gonna get. Still not very good though. Next card we have is a 6 mana, 6 attack, 6 health creature called the Cabal Trafficker. At the end of your turn, add a random demon to your hand. I would definitely play that in a demon deck. It totally makes sense to get more demons. Next card is the 7 mana, 6 attack, 6 health demon called the Abysmal Enforcer. Battlecry, deal 3 damage to all other characters. That includes yourself and your enemy's health. I'd probably play that. That's still decent enough for a Warlock card. They still aren't great cards, but yeah, it's better than some of the others. And then we have a 9 mana, 7 attack, 9 health demon called Cruel the Unshackled. Battlecry, if your deck has no duplicates, summon all the demons from your hand. Well, I don't know how often this card would really work, but it is an interesting thing when it does. So you would have to play this on the 9th turn. You would have to have several demons in your hand, which would be kind of unlikely, and they would have to be impactful because they were summoned for free. It feels like this card is a game changer for a late game, and honestly, by the late game, if you're not winning, your strategy is not very good. So you don't need game changers then. So I like this idea, definitely, and if it was a earlier, cheaper card, I would play this, but being such a late thing, I probably wouldn't play it even if I could get it. That's a legendary card, so I probably won't even get it. Moving on, we have a 1-mana spell for the warrior called I Know That Guy. Discover a taunt minion. Next one we have is a 2-mana, 2-attack, 2-health creature called Hobart Grapplehammer. Battlecry, give all weapons in your hand and deck +1 attack. Interesting, you might be able to do a weapons deck for the warrior if we see more cards like that. Next one we have is a 2-mana, 0-attack, 7-health taunt creature called the Public Defender. I would probably have this guy in my deck just for a good taunt creature. Next one, I'm moving a little bit faster here, is a 2-mana spell called Sleep with the Fishes. Deal 3 damage to all damaged minions. For a warrior, the problem with this card is if you did 1 damage to all your enemy minions, you probably also did 1 damage to your own minions. So playing this card after that would probably just kill all of your characters too. So I could see the idea, but I just don't think it's going to work well. Next one we have is a 2-mana spell called the Stolen Goods. Give a random taunt minion in your hand +3/+3. It seems like this will be where we want to build a taunt deck. Next one we have is a 3-mana, 3-attack, 3-health creature called the Grime Street Pawnbroker. Battlecry, give a random weapon in your hand +1/+1. Here we have another weapon, the Brass Knuckles, 4-mana, 2-attack, 3 duration. After hero attacks, give a random minion in your hand +1/+1. I think this one is actually a very good weapon. You'd probably want this in your deck. And again, it's giving characters in your hand +1/+1, so you can start playing a strategy that really hasn't existed in Hearthstone. So it feels like they're actually adding something to the game in this expansion and giving us at least a new strategy to consider. Next one we have is a 4-mana, 4-attack, 3-health creature called the Grimy Gadgeteer. At the end of your turn, give a random minion in your hand +2/+2. Definitely would play this because it's every turn +2/+2. And then finally for the warrior, we have the Alley Armorsmith. Taunt, whenever this minion deals damage, gain that much armor. So this guy for 5 mana is pretty decent card, but you would want to improve his attack a little bit so that you could gain more armor and use that to your advantage. And that just leaves us with the neutral cards that anybody can play, and so we just need to go through these, which the vast majority of cards were going to be neutral cards, so we have several pages here to look through, and these cards are going to be great determiners about how many of the new expansion cards I actually put in the deck versus how many of the old cards. Ideally, I'm going to try to use as many of the new cards as possible, but realistically, I have 3 different goals in my mind. I have to make a set of standard decks or a set of wild decks to actually get up in rank, because I try to get to at least rank 18, which is an incredibly low rank for ranked play, but it's the best I can ever seem to manage. I'm such a bad player apparently, but then also I need to make decks to get at least all of the 50 gold or higher quests done, which means I need a deck specifically full of beasts and demons and murlocs and pirates and battlecry minions and death rattles and divine shields and enrage and taunt and overload and combo and secrets and weapons, and like all of those things also a consideration. So, and I also would like to win. So I'm trying to balance 3 things and make it equally, and I don't know exactly how I'm going to do that. I will find out starting tomorrow. I'm trying not to have a huge amount of Hearthstone videos on the new expansions, but I almost certainly will. So I will buy 50 card packs tomorrow, certainly as soon as possible, and then I will have independent expansion cards where I episodes after that where I make new decks for everything. Moving forward to the neutral cards, I have a 1 mana, 2 attack, 2 health creature called the Mistress of Mixtures. Restore 4 health to both players. You know, this card is not a terrible card to play on your first turn, so if you've got nothing better, might as well do it. On your first turn, almost certainly neither player would have taken any damage anyways, so it doesn't really matter that it restores 4 health to both players. If you were playing it with the Arachnite Soul Priest, then it would take 4 damage from both players, which then makes it even more valuable. So if you're trying for a priest deck and you're playing with the Arachnite Soul Priest, definitely play this card. But just being a 1 mana 2/2 is going to be probably better than any other 1 mana card that you can find. Maybe not, depending on what abilities you're looking for. Next card we have is a 1 mana legendary, 1 attack, 1 health pirate. Patches the pirate charge. After you play a pirate, summon this minion from your deck. So, if you have a pirate deck and you have this card, absolutely have it, because it just gets summoned magically from the deck after you play a pirate. On top of that, it's not a terrible card in itself, a charge for 1/1 for 1 mana. And there aren't that many 1 mana legendary cards. There's only like 2 or 3 in the entire game. Having more helps for other reasons. There's some cards that I think would interact with that well. Next card we have is a 1 mana, 1 attack, 2 health creature called 2 health pirate called the Small Time Buccaneer. Has +2 attack when you have a weapon equipped. So definitely play that in your pirate deck. Next one we have is a 1 mana, 1 attack, 1 health beast called the Weasel Tunneler. Death Rattle, shuffle this minion into your opponent's deck. Unless there's another card that does something when your opponent has a Weasel Tunneler in their deck, I don't know why you would play this card. This seems kind of like a really bad effect for a 1/1 as it is. So I don't know why you'd play that one. Next one you have is a 2 mana, 2 attack, 1 health Murloc called the Blowgill Sniper. Battlecry, deal 1 damage. Absolutely play him in a Murloc deck, because you're going to play almost every Murloc in a Murloc deck, and that's a pretty good one. Next one is a 2 mana, 2 attack, 6 health creature called the Dirty Rat. Taunt, battle cry, your opponent summons a random minion from their hand. I don't know if this card is really worth it. Like, on the second turn, playing this to get a 2 attack and 6 health with taunt, but then giving your opponent something, a random minion. This actually sounds awful, because what if it summons your opponent's like 10 mana creature? Yeah. At best, this is going to summon a 2 mana or 1 mana creature, which still isn't very good. Yeah, I don't know why you'd play that card. There's literally, from how I'm looking at this, there's no reason whatsoever to play this card at all. Like, it's not a beast, it's not a pirate, it's not a murloc. Yeah, this card is garbage. Next card that we have is a 2 mana, 2 attack, 3 health creature called the Friendly Bartender. At the end of your turn, restore 1 health to the hero. Maybe not. It's not bad, but it doesn't really do that much. Next one we have is a 2 mana, 2 attack, 2 health creature called the Gadgetzan Socialite. It has a battle card to restore 2 health. Then I guess the question is, between the two cards, which would you prefer? 1 time 2 health, or something that probably would stay around for 2 turns and give you 2 health and have 1 more health themselves? Almost certainly I would pick the Friendly Bartender over the Socialite. Moving forward, the next one we have is a 2 mana, 1 health, 1 attack creature called the Grime Street Informant. Battle cry, discover a hunter, paladin, or warrior card. So, one of the things they've got now on these cards are different triads. So, these cards can't be played specifically on every single character deck. They can only actually be played in a couple of characters deck. I would assume for this card it can only be played in the hunter, paladin, and warrior decks, and thus mages, shamans, warlocks, and druids are out of the picture. That would be 7. There's 2 more classes that they're also not allowed in. But this is a new idea, and it's making the game very messy. I have to say, they would have been better off simply making the exact same card and handing it to each character. So instead of like Grime Street Informant, if it was just a hunter class special card and a paladin class special card and a warrior class special card, that would be fine. But then also, I guess when you open card packs, you would potentially get these cards, that style of card, 3 times as likely, which would be boring. So they kind of needed to give them different names and slightly different descriptions. There is also potentially some slight change here, because you might be able to play this in a hunter deck and then discover a paladin or warrior card, and that then opens the doors for some craziness too. So I'll have to see one of these cards played with these new triad abilities, and see how that works, really. Next card we have is a 3 mana, 3 attack, 4 health legendary card called the Auction Master Beardo. After you cast a spell, refresh your hero power. So that's an interesting thing, certainly. Like, if you're playing the mage and you did 1 damage with your Fire Blast, and then you played a 0 mana spell, you might be able to again then use your Fire Blast. And also, this card might work with those other cards that we saw before, where on the priest deck, if you had the Arachnite Soul Priest and the ability to use your hero ability as many times as you want, and the ability to use it multiple times, like this is a different way you could potentially pull off that victory in one turn. Next card we have is a 3 attack, 3 mana, 3 attack, 1 health creature called the Backstreet Leper. Battlecry, deal 2 damage to the enemy hero. So it's probably a decent card to play, really. I mean, dealing 2 damage to the enemy hero right when it dies, and being a 3/1 for 3 mana, it's not terrible. It's kind of like the Leper Gnome, and that's what it is. It's just a different version of the Leper Gnome, and I like the Leper Gnome, so I'd say maybe play that if you've got nothing better. Next one we have is a 3 mana, 1 attack, 1 health creature called the Blubber Baron. Whenever you summon a minion, a Battlecry minion with this in your hand, gain +1/+1. So put this guy in your Battlecry deck, I would say, and then as long as he's a 4/4 or higher by the time you play him, I think he probably pays off decently. Next card we have is a 3 mana, 3 attack, 7 health creature called the Fell Orc Soul Fiend. At the start of your turn, deal 2 damage to this minion. Yeah, you'd have to have a pretty complicated strategy for this card to make sense. Something that was constantly healing, something that made reason and rhyme, because this guy doesn't have taunt by default, so his 7 health doesn't really help anything, and there's probably something you could get better for 3 mana to do 3 attack and not have to deal with the fact that it does 2 damage to itself, and then you would have to heal back from that. Next card we have is another Cabal card, 3 mana, 2 attack, 4 health creature called Grime Street Smuggler. Battlecry, give a random minion in your hand +1/+1. And again, this is just like, it seems like it can play in at least 2 other classes, if not several other classes. I think they're probably going in the wrong direction with this whole Cabal idea, but I'm not ready to condemn it yet. Next one we have is a 3 mana, 4 attack, 3 health creature called the Hired Gun. He has taunt. Nothing very special there, but he's a pretty good card. 4 attack and for 3 mana. Next one we have is a 3 mana, 2 attack, 2 health creature called the Cabal Courier. And notice it's a different logo here now. So this is the other Cabal, which I think there were 3 Cabals, but there may actually only be 2. Battlecry, discover a Mage, Priest, or Warlock card. And so, yeah, that probably means it can only be played in a Mage, Priest, or Warlock deck. Next card we have is a 3 mana, 1 attack, 1 health, legendary called Sergeant Sally. Death Rattle, deal damage equal to this minion's attack to all enemy minions. Again, that's a card that's kind of like Cthulhu, but earlier on in the game. If you get it pumped up, it makes sense. If you don't get it pumped up, it makes no sense. Next one we have is a 3 mana, 0 attack, 7 health demon called the Street Trickster. What's interesting here is I do believe this is the first demon ever in the neutral deck. All other demons have been Warlock cards. It has spell damage +1, so you would probably play it in a Mage deck as often as you play it in a Warlock deck, so this is an interesting new twist of an expansion of the game, and I like this idea. I like the idea that you might get some demons, you might get some other styles of characters. I've often felt that a lot of the characters that aren't labeled as anything should be labeled as something, and there should be a class for everything. For instance, this one's called the Toxic Sewer Ooze. There are enough oozes or globs of things in the game that they should just make a class of oozes and relabel the old cards as saying, yes, this is an ooze, or this is a slime, or whatever they wanted to call it. So this is a 3 mana, 4 attack, 3 health creature. Battlecry, remove 1 durability from your opponent's weapon. This is kind of the same as the other slime card. I don't know if you really need potentially 4 of the same cards just to destroy the durability of an opponent's weapon, particularly since weapons still aren't really that a big deal yet. Maybe later on, when they add some more expansions, weapons will be a big deal, and destroying them will be a priority, but right now they're not. Next card is a 4 mana, 4 attack, 4 health creature called the Backroom Bouncer. Whenever a friendly minion dies, gain +1 attack. I assume that only happens when it's on the field. Otherwise, this is going to be really powerful by the time you play it, usually. Next card we have is a 4 mana, 3 attack, 3 health creature called the Daring Reporter. Whenever your opponent draws a card, gain +1/+1. Again, I assume this means only when it's on the field. Not a bad card though. I mean, you play it and then your opponent is gonna draw a card next turn, and then it's a 4/4, and then if it doesn't kill it, it'll be a 5/5. Seems like it has some major growth potential there. Next one we have is the 4 mana, 5 attack, 4 health creature, legendary creature called Genzo the Shark. Whenever this attacks, both players draw until they have 3 cards. I don't know if that really would ever be that useful, honestly. Like, you play this on the 4th turn, you're probably going to have more than 3 cards, or at least 3 cards. Your opponent's probably going to have 3 cards too. If you play this like a late game on the 10th turn, it kind of makes sense, but still not enough sense for what it's worth. So I don't think that's one I'd particularly be super focused on playing. Next card we have is a 4 mana, 2 attack, 6 health creature called Hosen the Healer. No, just Hosen Healer. Battlecry, restore a minion to full health. Maybe in a priest deck you'd use that, but it's a pretty big trade-off there. Not very much damage. If this was a 3/5, I'd be a little bit happier with it, or if it was a 4/4, I'd be a little bit happier with it too. But yeah, maybe in a priest deck. Next one we have is a 4 mana, 2 attack, 3 health creature called the Jade Spirit, and it is part of the 3rd Cabal, which I don't know what that one is called, but whatever. It looks like a lotus leaf there. Battlecry, summon a Jade Golem. Again, until we know what a Jade Golem is, I don't know if that's useful or not. Moving on, we have a 4 mana, 3 attack, 3 health creature called the Cabal Chemist. Battlecry, add a random potion to your hand. What the random potion opportunities are, I'm not sure. So you're going to have to play this card and figure out what potions are available. And again, this is one of those Cabal cards. Next we have a 4 mana, 3 attack, 3 health creature called Kazakis. Battlecry, if your deck has no duplicates, create a custom spell. Now, I heard about this custom spell thing, and I think it's probably worth playing at least once and then deciding whether it actually does something or useful or not. And again, this is a Cabal card, so this Cabal in particular seems to be focused around spells, which, okay, yeah, that's a new way to expand it. It's interesting. Let's see. Next card we have is a 4 mana, 4 attack, 4 health creature. Battlecry, swap the attack and health of a minion. This might be useful, but I've never really found it very useful to have the ability to swap the attack and the health of minions. And then his flavor text is #abs, because I guess those are his abs exposed there. Next one we have is a 4 mana, 5 attack, 4 health pirate called the Naga Corsair. Battlecry, give your weapon +1 attack. Definitely play that in the pirate deck. Next card we have is a 4 mana, 4 attack, 4 health creature called the Tanar's Hog Chopper. Hog Chopper. Battlecry, if your opponent's hand is empty, gain charge. I wouldn't play this card, really. I don't think on the fourth turn you're ever gonna run into an opponent with an empty hand. This relies on your opponent doing something, and I don't like cards that are reliant on the opponent doing anything. Next card we have is the Worgen Greaser, which is a 6 attack, 3 health for 4 mana. It's probably a pretty good deal. It doesn't have any ability or effect, and this is the guy they've actually been using as the art for the new expansion on the launcher. But yeah, he's a pretty good card. Just sometimes that's the best, is just don't give me special effects, just give me something with a little bit more attack. Next one we have is a 5 mana, 2 attack, 2 health creature called the Bomb Squad. Battlecry, deal 5 damage to an enemy minion. Death Rattle, deal 5 damage to your hero. See, I mean, look at the difference here. A 4 mana, 6 attack, 3 health that does nothing else, and this one that has this really complicated thing that then, because it has a really complicated Battlecry and Death Rattle, then becomes a 2 attack and 2 health creature. Like, I think I would pick Worgen Greaser over Bomb Squad, particularly since the Death Rattle does damage to your own hero. Next card we have is a 5 mana, 4 attack, 6 health creature called the Burgly Bully. Whenever your opponent casts a spell, add a coin to your hand. This seems like it would be great if you're playing against a mage or something, but it actually isn't that good. If a mage is casting spells on you and doing damage to you and destroying your enemies, getting a coin is not going to save you. And in all other scenarios, it's kind of just this useless card for 4 attack, 6 health for 5 mana. You could probably do better. Next one we have is the 5 mana, 2 attack, 2 health Doppelgangster. Battlecry, summon 2 copies of this minion. So does that mean there's 3 of them here for 5 mana? That's probably a pretty good deal then, to have 3 2/2s for 5 mana. I want to play that and just make sure that it gives you 3. If it gives you 2, then it's probably not that good of a deal. Next card is a 5 mana, 2 attack, 4 health Murloc called Finja the Flying Star. Stealth, whenever this attacks and kills a minion, summon 2 Murlocs from your deck. So I think that would work really well, and it's a Murloc, so you're almost certainly going to play it in your Murloc deck. We're probably approaching the point where there's more than 30 Murlocs to pick from, and if that's the case, then then you'd have to really think about which one you wanted to leave off. But that is only for wild. I bet on standard there's still enough room to add a few more Murlocs. Next card we have is a 5 mana, 3 attack, 5 health creature called Grok Fu Master. He has Wind Fury, which means he can attack twice. We haven't seen any other Wind Fury expansions, and they could do with a few more cards with Wind Fury, I think. Next one we have is a 5 mana, 5 attack, 3 health creature called Lotus Agents. The battle cry: discover a druid, rogue, or shaman card. So we've seen basically that exact same card several times. Next card we have is a 5 mana, 2 attack, 6 health creature called the Red Mana Worm. Whenever you cast a spell, gain +2 attack. And we already had a Mana Worm for the mage. Having a Red Mana Worm seems like a just logical expansion of that. The original Mana Worm, I think, only got +1 attack, and it was like a 1, 2, or 3 mana creature to summon, where this is a little bit more expensive for +2 attack. I think, yeah, it's a 1 mana creature. Next card we have is a 5 mana, 4 attack, 5 health creature called the Second Rate Bruiser. Taunt, costs 2 less if your opponent has at least 3 minions. Yeah, he's probably a pretty good card here, because even at 5, 4 attack and 5 health with Taunt is a pretty good deal. And then at 3, it's a great deal. Of course, you really don't want your opponent to have 3 minions, but it happens sometimes. Next one we have is a 5 mana, 5 attack, 5 health creature called the Spiked Hog Rider. A battle cry: if an enemy minion has Taunt, gain charge. Let's see, is that really worth it? There's a creature called the Black Knight that destroys an enemy with Taunt. That's a pretty good card to play. And in comparison to that, I think I definitely want the Black Knight. But maybe. I mean, it's still a decent card even without its abilities. 5 mana for 5/5. Gaining the ability to charge if an opponent has Taunt isn't terrible. It's just kind of ridiculous. And then the Spiked Hog Rider name almost feels like a direct reference to Clash of Clans, but I suppose both references really just go back to a reference that they call motorcycles hogs, and a pig, fancy pig riding a hog makes sense. And I guess in Clash of Clans the Hog Rider is actually riding a hog and not a motorcycle, so the reference is even more subtle. So I don't know there. Next card is, it's probably a decent card, but I don't know where the reference is coming from. Next card is 5 mana, 4 attack, 6 health, called the Streetwise Investigator. Battlecry: enemies lose stealth. Honestly, I think stealth is so useless, I don't see a reason why you would play this card. A lot of these 5 mana cards are decent enough to play, but you probably can find something better if you have a decent amount of cards. Next one we have is a 6 mana, 3 attack, 8 health card called the Ancient of Blossoms with Taunt. He's alright, low attack, but high health. Next one we have is a 6 mana, 5 attack, 3 health called the Aya Blackpaw. Battlecry and Death Rattle, summon a Jade Golem. Again, until we know what a Jade Golem is, I don't know how useful that is. Next one we have is a 6 mana, 1/1 Battlecry, summon a 6/6 Ogre. Honestly, this is probably not worth playing because, well, it is a battle cry instead of a death rattle. That changes it slightly, but yeah, I guess it is worth playing then, since it's a battle cry. If it was a death rattle, then you would have to wait a turn. But since it's a battle cry, you would summon this, and then you'd get your 6/6 Ogre immediately, and then you'd wait a turn, and then you'd attack. And they'd probably manage to kill this guy, but probably not manage to kill the 6/6. So this guy almost has a taunt built into him. So he's probably worth playing. Next one we have is a 6 mana, 5 attack, 7 health creature called Defias Cleaner. Battlecry, silence a minion with death rattle. That seems a little too specific for me. Like, I don't think I would particularly want to play that card if I couldn't find it, unless I had nothing better. Next card I have is a 6 mana, 4 attack, 4 health creature called Fight Promoter. Battlecry, if you control a minion with 6 or more health, draw 2 cards. That seems a little too specific too. For drawing 2 cards, it's probably not worth playing that guy. Next card is a 6 mana, 6 attack, 6 health creature called the Leather-Clad Hog Leader. Battlecry, if your opponent has 6 or more cards in your in hand, gain charge. Again, this card is built around what the opponent does, and I don't like any cards that are built around what the opponent's doing, because that's just a lack of control in play. So this is a exactly average card. 6 mana for 6 attack for 6 health, plus this ability, and I still probably wouldn't play it. Next one I have is a 6 mana, 4 attack, 3 health creature called Madame Goya. Battlecry, choose a friendly minion, swap it with a minion in your deck. How this actually works is interesting. So I need to play this card to figure it out, because if you get to pick what card you're going to get to swap it out with, it's amazingly powerful. If you just get a random character from your deck, it's not very useful then. Particularly since when you swap it out, you're probably not going to activate the battle cries or anything like that on that new character. Next one I have is a 6 mana, 5 attack, 5 health mech, which this is the first mech we've seen, called the Wind Up Burglebot. Whoever this attacks, whenever this attacks a minion and survives, draw a card. Which, okay, maybe if you were playing a mech deck and you needed to specifically draw more cards, that might be one to play. Or if you're just trying to play a mech deck in general, because the Goblins and Gnomes was the expansion that introduced mechs, and they are now mostly banned because of Goblins and Gnomes being a wild only set. So they needed, in this expansion in particular, if they were going to maintain the viability of playing as with mechs, to introduce a lot more of those mech cards, and we've only seen one, and here we are almost done. So they're probably just getting rid of it. So if you're playing a standard deck, you really can't play mechs at all. Next card we have is a 6 mana, 4 attack, 5 health called the Raytheon. He has Taunt and a battle cry to draw cards until you draw one that isn't a dragon. So if you were playing a dragon deck and you played this on the 6th turn, you could potentially draw a bunch of dragons. But again, just like the mech decks, they didn't introduce enough dragons for that to really make sense. Next one, we have another one of these Cabal cards. 7 mana, 5 attack, 6 health. The Dawn Hand Cho. Battlecry, give a random minion in your hand +5/+5. You know, this card would probably work rather well with Cthulhu or something like Cthulhu, because giving him +5/+5 would do 5 more damage. But in general, I guess it's alright, but it's a little expensive for what it's doing. Then finally we have the 9 mana, 5 attack, 4 health creature called Mayor Nogensfager. All targets are chosen randomly. Yeah, I don't think for 9 mana you'd ever want to play that. That just seems like it's adding a level of randomness to the game that you would not want to play for any kind of strategy play. So kind of a pointless expansion. Pointless. What are these, legendary cards? That's what I meant to say. So let's go to all cards now, and let's just kind of look at the collection of dragons and then murlocs and then wrap up. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 37, 38, 40, 42, 44, 46, 40. I'm way off on the counting here. That's 48, 50, about. And then 51, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 15. So let's see here. There's 2 more I could have there, and then there's 6 more I could have there, and then there's 8 more I could have there, 2 more I can have there. So while I didn't count just cards with dragons that are dragons, I also included cards that have dragon effects. You're looking at 75 plus cards that you potentially could have. So I think there is enough dragons finally to make a dragon deck. Now, of course, if I only go to standard cards, let's see if that's still the case with a quick visual inspection. Seems like you could still probably make a dragon deck just fine. Now, let's look at the mechs as a standard deck and see how much you can, if you can make a standard mech deck. 2, 4, 6, 8. I don't actually need to do this. 16 per page plus 2 more here is 18 plus 1 here is 19. So cards that even mention mechs, there's only 19 in standard play. So you cannot play a standard play mech deck. That being said, if you want to play an expansion wild set with mechs, there's all kinds of mechs in every single characters that they're just banned because they're all goblins versus gnomes cards. See, goblins versus gnomes and wild. That's why the little veins are here. So they did not add enough here to make a comeback as far as expansion things. And then standard cards, as far as murlocs, it seems like there's more than enough murloc cards here to probably make a deck. Like 16 here, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Seems like, yeah, you can get at least 20 in there. 20, 24. We're still a little short on murlocs for a standard play. But for all cards, if you go that route, then there's definitely enough now to get to 30. But Old Murkai in particular is a major card to lose if you're going to, I was calling him the Murloc King, but this is the guy I was talking about, old Merc guy. If you don't have him, your entire Murloc deck kind of falls apart. And let's see, was there anything else to talk upon or talk about? I don't think so. So, in conclusion, as we still can't pre-order or purchase any cards today, that'll all be tomorrow. Some interesting cards in the new expansion. There's definitely some questions that are going to come up about what is a Jade Golem, how are these Triad cards going to work, and some of the other cards. They added several new things that were activated by having only one of having no duplicates in your deck, which is an interesting idea, but I still don't think you could probably make a deck like that. Maybe the pro players could do it, but most players can't. And again, I have to look at the list of the quests, and I recommend everybody go on the Hearthstone Wikipedia and look at what the quests are and focus on making decks that earn you at least 50 gold. So I'm going to have to, when I rebuild decks tomorrow, keep that in mind and make things differently from the way I was doing it before, and that will certainly be an interesting turn of events. That's it for this video. Sorry if it went long, but we had a lot of cards to go through. As always, I end my episodes the same way. I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. All that helps me out with YouTube. If you want to support me even further, you can go to my main YouTube page. On the right is a blue button that says support this channel. Click it, make a donation. And finally, down below in the description box, I have links to all my social media sites like Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Google+, and probably a few more such as Steam and Battle.net, where I would like you to friend and follow me on all of those things too. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.